What's the worst thing that's ever happened to you after doing a good deed? I helped my elderly neighbor dig her garden and ended up getting arrested for murder. Mrs. Chen lived next door for 15 years. Always alone, always quiet. She'd wave from her window when I left for work, and sometimes I'd see her struggling with groceries, so I'd help carry them in. Nothing big, just being decent. Last Tuesday, she knocked on my door around noon, said her back was killing her, and she needed help turning soil in her backyard for spring planting. I had the day off, so I grabbed a shovel and followed her out back. The yard was small, maybe 20 by 30 feet, mostly dead grass and old flower beds along the fence. She pointed to a spot near the shed, said she wanted to plant tomatoes there this year, so I started digging. The ground was harder than expected, packed tight like cement. About 2 feet down, my shovel hit something solid, not a rock. It made a hollow sound. I cleared more dirt and saw white plastic, like a tarp wrapped around something. Mrs. Chen stood behind me, real quiet. I looked back and she was just staring at the hole, her face completely blank. I asked if she knew what it was. She shook her head, told me to keep digging, but something felt wrong. My hands were shaking a little, but I kept going. I pulled at the plastic and it tore. Inside was a gym bag, black with red straps. It smelled awful, like old meat left in the sun. I used a stick to open the zipper. There were bones inside, small ones at first, then bigger pieces wrapped in newspaper, and a skull, a human skull with a bullet hole right through the forehead. I dropped the stick and backed away so fast, I tripped over the shovel. Mrs. Chen hadn't moved. She just stood there looking at me, then at the bag, then back at me. Real calm, like we'd found an old shoe or something. She said we should call the police. I was already pulling out my phone, hands trembling so bad I could barely unlock it. The cops came in 12 minutes. 4 cars, lights flashing, neighbors coming out to watch. They taped off the whole yard and started asking questions. I told them everything. How Mrs. Chen asked for help, where I dug, what we found. They nodded, took notes, seemed to believe me. Then one detective pulled me aside, asked how well I knew Mrs. Chen. I said not well, just neighbor stuff. He asked if I'd been in her house before. I said yeah, helping with groceries sometimes. He asked if I'd been in her yard before today. I said no, never. That's when things turned. They found my fingerprints on a garden tool in her shed from months ago when I'd helped her fix a broken gate. They found a text on my phone from last week where I'd offered to help with yard work. They found dirt under my nails, my footprints all over the yard, my DNA on the shovel. The detective's whole tone changed. Started asking why I really came over, why I knew exactly where to dig, why I was so eager to help an old woman I barely knew. I kept saying she asked me, she showed me where, but they looked at each other like I was making it up. Then Mrs. Chen started talking, told them I'd been coming around a lot lately, said I seemed obsessed with her backyard, always offering to help, always asking questions, said she felt pressured to let me dig today because I kept insisting. Every word was a lie, but she said it so sweet, so confused, like a scared old lady. They arrested me right there, handcuffs in front of all my neighbors. As they put me in the car, I saw Mrs. Chen in her doorway. For just a second, she smiled. Not a friendly smile, the kind that makes your blood freeze. My lawyer discovered the truth 6 months later. The body was Mrs. Chen's husband, who'd supposedly left her 20 years ago. She'd been collecting his social security checks the whole time. She knew exactly where he was buried because she put him there. But she also knew the new city water main project would require digging in her yard next month. She needed someone to find the body before the city did. Someone with dirt on their hands and a helpful reputation. Someone whose fingerprints were already in her house. She'd been planning this for months, maybe years, waiting for the perfect neighbor to frame. The charges were dropped, but not before I lost my job, my savings to legal fees, and my reputation. Everyone still remembers the photos, me in handcuffs, the body bag being carried out, the headlines calling me a killer. Mrs. Chen? She played the victim perfectly. Confused widow who'd been deceived by her husband's disappearance. Too old and frail to have done anything herself. The prosecutors didn't even charge her. She still lives next door, still waves from her window. And every spring, she plants tomatoes right where we dug. I keep my blinds closed now. Some good deeds come with a price you never see coming until you're already holding the shovel.